is Muhammad Aiman Haziq bin Muhammad Safi. My metric number is 263657. Today I will present about the best practice tourism development in context of Afro-Colombian society in Baru, Colombia. The topic that I will present later under the GHZP 4083 Tourism Seminar subject, which been in charge by my supervisor, Prof. Dr. Azilah binti Kasim. Without further ado, I will continue with my presentation. During the 20th century, the Latin American countries has passed through three stages of tourism development. The first stage began from the early 20th century until 1960, where the national government promoted international tourism domestically and established policies friendly to international hotel and airlines. Next, second stage from 1960 until 1965, where UNESCO promoted cultural tourism as an avenue towards the economic development. The third wave is in the mid of 1980, witnessed a saving back towards private model of tourism development, which were expected more competitive and profit generating than their state-driven predecessor. In this context, Colombia was no different than other countries in Latin America. What made Colombia special was the figurating fault line that divided the country between two cultural regions. In this case, the Andean world towards the south, while West and Afro-Caribbean expand along its northeastern coastline. The first major surveys of Colombia tourism potential identified Afro-Colombian attraction as potential interest to international visitors, where it has a folkloric music, comedia típica, traditional festival, specialized architecture, important historical monuments, and others. To be more specifically, Colombia is musically one of the richest countries in the Western Hemisphere. Besides, it also offers danceable Afro-Colombian rhythms like the poros, cambias, mapales, fandangos, vallenatos, and others. On the other hand, the Colombian government did pursue the development of the sun, sea, and sand tourism on Baru as the centerpiece of tourism development in the region. The government decided to choose Baru, Santa Marta to the south, and San Andres, an island to the north, as future tourism center. In this context, each center will cater to a different clientele, where Santa Marta to Colombians and Venezuelans, meanwhile San Andres to Colombians and Central America, and Baru to international tourists, which means the tourists come from North American and European. The tourism development in Baru, Colombia has been continued, where Paris-based organization was sent one of its most adept beach tourism consultant to Cartagena, Colombia, Juan Arespachochaga. Based on his estimation, the sparsely populated peninsula of Baru offered the greatest competitive advantage for beachfront international tourists. What made Baru particularly attractive beyond its white sand beaches was its apparent plasticity. It means that the tourists can clearly see what's under the water, which an undaunted vision even amongst the most optimistic tourism consultant. Juan calculated that hotel and apartment could house up to 60,000 tourists at any one time, and on the 1,000 hectares of major sandy beach front property. In my opinion, there was three important elements that Malaysia could learn according to the case study that have been explained, which are culture, research, and opportunity. Into the first element, which is culture. Nowadays, it is very clear that the international tourists who come to our country only for the purpose to visit the famous destination or place. In this case, we actually lack of exposure about our culture, especially dance, festival, and traditional song. By refer to the case study, Colombia has their own specific place when the community still practice their culture. In this case, what Malaysia could learn is that the government must identify the specific area where the community still practice their culture and highlight the place as the culture destination that can visit by the international tourists. The second element is about the opportunity. In this element, we can see that the Colombian government really take the advantage of their tourism attraction, which is 3S, sun, sea, and sand. Besides, since the tourism industry can operate but with strict SOP, our government can focus towards the sun, sea, and sand destination to attract the international tourists to visit our country. This is because one of the mandatory SOP that need to be applied in the world of the pandemic is about the social distancing of 1 meter. In this case, the government can take the opportunity to promote our beaches since the area of the beaches is quite wide and the beaches can accommodate a number of tourists without need to worry about the social distancing of 1 meter. As a conclusion, every country must have best practices tourism development in order to expand their tourism industry, which can bring more tourists and visitors towards their country and also can generate revenue from it. That's all from me for my presentation. Thank you for your time, and I really appreciate for your time that you spent to listening to this presentation.